Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cameron Say with North Carolina A&T State, and I will be facilitating you getting on to master the mainframe system. I had intended to have this video available much sooner, but I did not. So we still have enough time because the contest runs through I think the end of December. So they've expanded the time frame for it. So let's get started. Okay, I've shared my screen with you, so I'm going to toggle between a couple of screens here. The first thing you probably need to do, and you'll go through this. So these are the Part 1 instructions. What I do is I print out a PDF of this. You can do it with an the Adobe Reader. There is a free application called Qt PDF, and it allows you to generate from a file. It allows you to generate a PDF, and I think you can download this. But I've downloaded the Part 1 instructions, and we'll also have instructional videos on Part 2 of Master the Mainframe. So before we start, let me give you a little overview about Master the Mainframe. I think this is the 11th or 12th year of Master the Mainframe, and I've had my students participating in it since year 1. It is an excellent introduction to this technology, and I tell the students they learn a lot more from Master the Mainframe Part 1 and Part 2 than they do in our introductory class. If you complete Part 1, you get a T-shirt. If you complete Part 2, you get a job, or at least you get an interview. So if you complete Part 1, you get a T-shirt. You complete Part 2, you get an interview. Now that's not, IBM doesn't promise that, but that's what happens. Part 2 facilitates your, because the industry recognizes Master the Mainframe as validation of competency in this technology. If you finish Part 3, you get a job. That's the way it works. Part 3 is very difficult. Part 1 is fairly simple, straightforward. Part 2 is more challenging. Part 3 is still more challenging. It is an excellent introduction to the technology. So I will try to explain some of the mystery of this technology to you as we go along. So I think the best starting point is for you to, I think you are aware of the location to acquire your ID. And I'm just going to go on Google and Master the Mainframe 2017 and click on it. And then you click again on it. And voila, you register, put in your information, and they will send you an ID. Right? IBM will do that. Now, once you have that ID, it allows you to get on the system. But before you do that, you need to download a client. And I don't have a Mac working. I have a Mac, but it's not working now. So you Mac users out there, I have another video that I make available for you that I will share a folder with you to show you how to obtain the Mac version of it. But I'm going to go through the PC version. I think most of you are probably PC users. So once you get your ID, then you have to acquire what's called the 3270 client. And how you do that is you go to a site called Tom Brennan. Now you don't have to use this client, but this is the one IBM recommends, and IBM licenses you to use it, so you have a license for it. Tom Brennan software is the location that you acquire the 3270, what's called a 3270 emulator. Vista TN3270, that's the name of the tool. It's very small, so you don't have to worry about putting it on your machine. It doesn't do any damage. You download it, get the most current version, so you just save the executable to on your desktop or any folder. I've done it several times, so I'm not going to install it again because that will mess up my current installation. But once you have it, you just run this executable file, and it takes about maybe 20 seconds for it to install. Now, once that is installed, you'll have an icon that you click on, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, so let me close this screen out. The screen let me close that. All right, so you fire it up. There's an icon, and hopefully you won't get that. You put in the IP address of the machine. We're operating on an IBM Z13. Not quite a state of the art. The Z14 is out now, but Z13 is a very powerful and very expensive machine. So you're going to be working on a state of the art mainframe, directly working on that system. And there'll be thousands of you on it simultaneously at the same time. And one of the hallmarks of this technology is that it can support tens of thousands of simultaneous users and run hundreds of thousands of jobs, workloads simultaneously. So the IP address for the machine is 192.86.32.159, and the port is 1023. So I realize that I may be speaking to some complete novices to IT, and that's fine. You know, you're welcome to participate. I think we all know there's this thing called the internet. Well, the internet consists of a bunch of rules called protocols that make it function, right? And so one of those rules is how you do addressing. How do you identify computers? And now, you know, there's all kinds of things on mainframe. Refrigerators on the mainframe, on the internet. Refrigerators on the internet. Cars on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So each one of those devices has to have what's called an internet protocol address or IP address. And those addresses all are unique. And so this machine has a unique internet protocol address, and that's the address here, 192.86.32.1559. Yeah. Now, a port is just kind of a window or a door that you go through to access a particular device. And you know, that's just a very high-level explanation, but it'll do for now. In this case, the port is 23. Okay, that's all we need to know for now. Once you have that, you click connect, and you won't see this. I'm doing something wrong. I got something going on here, so I don't know what's going on there, but you won't see that. You won't see this. What you will see is okay, let's back up a little bit. Let me show you how it's supposed to work. So you'll see this, and you'll click on connect, and you'll see this screen. This is the interface for the machine, and I think it's in Texas, Dallas. It may not be. In the world of cloud computing, so this machine could be in Australia, but I happen to know that I think this machine is in Dallas. At least that's where the machine has been located for the previous master of the mainframe. And here, this HTTP address is a web address. You can put in ntm2017.mybluelinux.net, and you put it in the host, and it'll come up the same way. But you have the IP address, so you really don't need the domain name. Now, this is the Logon screen. They tell you how to get past this screen, but well, I forgot really what they told you to do. Let me see. Maybe I can. Yeah, maybe I can remember how they tell you to get on it. And there's a lot of good information in here. Now you also need something called Putty, and we might as well go ahead and get our Putty client also while we're at it. So I'm going to go back to a web browser and just put in Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. Putty is what's called a secured shell host, SSH host. And it's another tool. And so you just download this, and you download it anywhere on your computer. You have to know if you have a 32-bit or a 64-bit machine. If you have Windows, none of you are probably Linux users, but if you have Linux, you really don't need this. You really don't need Putty if you have Linux. So you download it and you install it, okay? And you will get an icon like this down here at the bottom of my screen. Click on it, and then you'll put in the same IP address, 192 dot. What is it? 192. Can't remember IP addresses. Well, if you use them enough, you will remember them. 192.86.32.159. 192.86.32.159. Is that right? Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And that comes later, but let's just make sure that works. You put that address in with Putty. Now, the port you use, you're going through a different port when you use Putty, and you're doing different things, right? You're logging to a different part of the same machine. That port is 22, and you click on it, and your credential will be the same. So let's just put that on hold for the time being. Let me save that IP address because I'm going to need it. Oh, I had it right here, yeah. Okay, let's just put that on hold for the time being. And so how they tell you to log on to it, I want to do it the way they do it in the book so you don't get confused. I do it a different way, but and you should read all of the documentation in part 1 because it gives you a lot of good information on the mainframe. So what they tell you to do is log on with your user ID. So I'm going to do exactly what they do. There are a couple of ways you can get on, but mine is Z00745. I think that's my IP address. I think that's my user ID. So you put it in. Now, the first time you get on, your password is going to be the same as your user ID. Okay. First time you log on, and every time you have a password reset, it tells you this in the instructions. What you want to make sure is tab down here to this location. So the mouse is really not going to be useful to you until you get used to the interface. Then you can know what the mouse helps you with and what it doesn't. And you want to put an S there. What an S allows to happen is that if you, for some reason, you log out incorrectly or you close the client, something, it will allow you just to log back on the machine. If you don't have the S there, what's going to happen is if you log out improperly, you're going to have to wait for some prescribed period of time before you can log on. And there's nothing the system programmer or anybody can do. You just got to wait. So to save yourself a few headaches, you want to put the S in there. Okay, again, first time you log on, your password is going to be the same as your user ID, whatever it is. And so you have, as they say, you have Z followed by some digits, some integers. Okay, whatever yours is, you put it in there. Now, you hit enter. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess my password up. You hit enter right here. Hit enter after you put in your user ID and your tab over here. There you put in another password. Change the password to yourself. My recommendation is you keep your password very simple. 3 letters and an integer would be fine. And the reason I say 3 letters and an integer, for example, CAT1, because if you have to have your password reset, you can't use the same password twice for, I think, 10 or 15 times, 10 or 15 passwords. It's a headache. So don't give yourself a password that you can't remember. You know, security is not an issue here because they have something that secures this system better than you can do it with a password. So CAT1 is fine. So the next time, if you need your password reset, you just use CAT2, and next time CAT3, etc. Right? And I'm going to put in my password. I changed mine. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's three letters in an integer. And once you do that, now you're in the system. Okay. Now, this is where the fun begins. When you see these 3 dots here down the bottom, it means that there's more information to follow. So you press enter and enter again, and you have to wait because there's a bunch of people on the system. And not only that, but the system's doing a bunch of different things. They're doing stuff with this system, almost an unimaginable amount of work. Mainframes are very, very powerful machines. You see the licensing information there that always comes up. You just hit enter key, and that goes away. Okay. Now you're in the environment ready to go to work. So let me explain a little bit about this environment. This is the Ispf interface, right? Ispf stands for Interactive System Performance Function. My students will tell you, I don't really care if you remember what the letters stand for, just understand what the acronym does, right? So I don't care that you understand that TCP/IP means Transmission Control Protocol / Internet Protocol. It's more important to me that you understand that TCP/IP is a protocol and what it does. This is the primary interface that we're going to use. Now, I think they say in the doc that there are all kinds of fancy interfaces. This may look very old school to you, but it's very lean, it's very effective. And this is the way that most of the companies I know of still communicate with the mainframe. Although there are fancy graphical environments, and, state-of-the-art graphical environments or graphical interfaces to use, most of the companies use this. And I've never had a student not get a job because they didn't know those fancy interfaces, but this is what you need to know, Ispf. That's why IBM still uses it in master mainframe. Don't be dismayed by the amount of options on this menu. We're only going to use a few of them. In my class for the entire semester, we only use 3 or 4 of these functions, so you'll be using the same ones over again. We use view a little bit, you'll use edit quite a bit, you use utilities a lot, etc. And so here we are. That's the interface. That's Ispf. Learn it, love it. This could put money in your pocket. Okay, so what do they tell us to do first? After we're logged on, and it's very important for all of you, for you guys that are trying to be apprentices and mainframe apprentices and want a job. We have students starting out at $92,000 a year with this technology. And they only know a little more than you do about this. Now, of course, they're IT students, so they know about other stuff. They know about databases. They know about networking. but they only know a little more about this technology than you're going to learn from Master the Mainframe. Matter of fact, when you get to the end of part 2 of Master the Mainframe, you will know more than a student who takes my first semester course in Master the Mainframe without doing, first semester course in Mainframe without doing Master the Mainframe. So this is a very robust environment, very robust set of exercises. So that's about, now, the initial password is ZBigData, right? Oh, back up. Okay, so forget what I said about your user ID being the same as your password being the same as your user ID. That is not true in Master the Mainframe. It used to be true, and it's still true in my class because we work on another system. But in this case, where I said your initial password was the same as your user ID, that is not the case. It is ZBigData. It's ZBigData. So scratch that. I'll try not to confuse you. But ZBigData, and every time you get it reset, it's going to be ZBigData. Okay, so they, like I say, it can't be any more than 8 characters. 3 letters and an integer are fine. Just keep it simple. Okay, we're scrolling down. Oh, so this is new. I didn't know this. Okay, yeah. So now, if you put in the S where it says reconnect, you won't have to do this. But if you don't, the next time you log on, you just type ZPass for me. And again, it's real important that you read this documentation. Very important. And so now we're on the system. Interaction System Productivity Facility. I don't know if I said that acronym correctly, but that's what it is. Here it is. Okay. This is about the stick man. Again, it's real important to read the directions carefully. Let's get to a challenge. So all this you can read for yourself. So what are they having us do here? So yeah, there's a tutorial. I've already done part 1, so I may have to go and delete some of my data sets to make them work, but so you can either view, browse, or edit the data sets. Let me see how they bring up how they tell you to bring this up. I don't want to skip over anything that you need to know. Okay, here we go. So from the primary option menu, right? This menu here. They want you to put in 3. Press enter. And then they want you to do 4, I think. Yeah, 4. And that brings you to your data sets. Okay, so let me explain the screen to you a little bit. In Mainframe, files are called data sets. Okay, data sets. And this is where you look at all your data sets. Now, look down here where it says prefix DS name level. Okay. When this is set and the slash is there, what the system means is that when I ask for a data set, because now all of your data sets are going to be prefixed with your user ID, and then whatever that particular data set name is. So all of them are going to start with your user ID. my data sets are all going to begin with Z00745. Dot something, dot something. Okay. When this is set, when this prefix DS name level is set, that slash is there, it means that I don't have to put my user ID if I want a data set called JCL, for example. There's a data set called JCL. I don't have to put Z00745. All I have to do is put JCL, and it's going to be understood. Let me demonstrate that for you on the screen. So I'll put in what is set there, JCL, press enter. You see I have a data set named Z00745. Okay. Now, let's see if I